you're setting up a search on Alex's server. And once it goes in there, it's not changing unless you stop it. And so if you were to close your computer and come back later, things might look a little bit different. But if you open up the log and actually copy the URL for your search and put it back into the search bar, you would actually pull back up all the filters and everything that are currently running. And I can show you guys how to do that tonight. It'll only take a second to show that. But yeah, no, once you set it and forget it, that's it, as Ron Popeil would say. Why does my TA reset when I'm in the middle of sorting results, and it will just randomly at any time go back to the main folder search? That is an odd one. You may want to check and make sure that your browser's not doing some sort of auto refresh or something. But once you're viewing your results, it shouldn't ever go back to the main folder. Perhaps you're looking at the items while the scan is still running. Maybe hitting F5 or something. And once it updates, it takes you back to the top of the folder. That's the only thing I could see.
Right. Another thing to note is that you need to be using either Chrome or Firefox. No other browsers are supported. Right. Yeah. Not even Safari. Probably not Safari.
Safari will work, but it's not very good. And don't even think about Internet Explorer.
No. Do not use Internet Explorer. We found that I hate Internet Explorer, but we were using it because of some other issues, and yeah, it doesn't work. Just don't do that. You're using Chrome only, right? So yeah, just for everyone else, if you're on a Mac, obviously, and you're doing Safari, just get Chrome. I mean, with all the the extensions, everybody should be using Chrome anyway.
Yes, we will definitely talk about running some bulk lists. I'm going to show you guys some. I'll show you guys some examples of building your own, and then I'll also show an example of using ones that are pre-built. And I will show you exactly what I do with like my Walmart file. Matter of fact, I need to go get a fresh Walmart file, guys. Hold on one second.
When using save data and running update data, occasionally my page flashes and jumps to, okay, we already talked about that. All right, so I'm not sure exactly how Chris does things, but if it's a little different from me, I'll tell you my theories on dealing with my list. So if you got a list from me, you should not be running those blind. So Chris is kind of going to go over, I did most of the talking on the last webinar. He's going to go over the product scan, but I'm probably going to be going over my own, the best way to deal with my own list. And you just shouldn't be running my list or any list you buy from anyone else, kind of blind. So we'll see how that goes after Chris gets his end, which I'm sure we're very close to the same on that. You got it, Chris? Or you need me to send you one?
No, I got it. I just downloaded it here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we will get rolling. All right, so everybody should see my product search screen. And bear with me one second while I pull. There we go. Okay. I want to make sure I see everything. Okay. So on the product search screen, we're going to start from the very top. We're going to go down. If you have questions, just ask away, and we will get to them. And let me pull that up. Okay. So the first thing that you're going to see on the product search screen, if you are like everybody else and go from left to right, is UPC sites and products only. Now, I happen to get a lot of questions about this, and the reason I do is because a lot of times it will be ticked on, it will be blue. And what that means is that in the website section, you are only going to see sites that are UPC searchable, okay? And ignore the blue ones. The blue ones are extras that I've had built and put in here. But all the other ones, you can see these are all just UPC sites. Now, if you tick that back off, you open up the websites again, and now you see all the title search sites, One Sale and 511 Tactical. So if you are missing a site that you're looking for, make sure to check that first before post on the Facebook wall or anything like that. Now, the next place is sourcing from and selling at. Now, if you are in Canada or if you're in the UK, all you have to do is drop these little boxes down and click where you might want to source from. Okay, we can source in Canada. Australia is available, but they don't have a whole lot in their inventory yet. But we're going to be doing USA for this particular purposes. Now, one of the cool things is if you are in North America, you could source from Canada to sell on .com. You could also source from the US to sell on Canada. So you don't necessarily have to have these sourcing from and selling at to be the same marketplaces. They can be different. And there are a lot of people who are really do well with that. Something else I'll do is I actually know of a company that ships things to Canada from the US, and I'll see if I can get them to offer a discount or something, but they do a really good job. But USA to .com is what we're going to be doing. Now, the next thing is this import bulk category list. We'll come back to that in just a moment, but by default, it should be red. It should be turned off. If you're going to do a single category product scan, and I'm going to be using Walmart as my examples all night tonight, you're going to want to do walmart.com or the UPC EAM search. I always use the keys because we can go much deeper. And I actually just uploaded Sean's video again to the Facebook group if you need to know how to get the keys. But it's very, very simple. You can also, over here in the right-hand side, this box here, it will tell you what you can do. And you'll see this will open up what looks like a page on Walmart. You've got the developer.walmartlabs.com, so you can go directly there to get your API key if you don't have it. And then you're also, Joanna, if you're having a difficulty with your connection, the replays will be up in the members area at any time, probably within 48 hours or so. Okay, now when you're searching with Walmart keys, you're always going to want your category, which will go right here, to look like what is in the category example. It's always going to have 3 sets of numbers. It's going to have 4171 underscore 4191 underscore, so on and so forth. So you're always going to want to make sure that your categories look like that. I believe sometimes they can have 4, but typically they have 3. And we're going to go ahead. We'll actually go find a new category to search. Now, once you choose the website, you can press this little blue box, and it's actually going to open up the sourcing site for you. And if you don't have Sean's Walmart list, which everybody really should have that. That's really the best way to search Walmart. And it just saves you a ton of time. But if you don't, you can still do keys. And I'll show you how, even though it's a real pain in the tuchus. All right, I always do action figures. And actually, we've even got to go even deeper. So what you'll see up here, and this isn't something that you can build on your own very easily, but you can grab them up here, and I'm not sure you can actually find all of them without doing whatever voodoo Sean did, but you can get some of them up here, and you'll see that it's, the 3 sets of digits. We'll copy that. We'll take it back to Tactical Arbitrage, and that's going to go in your category. Now, I no longer use the start page and the last page. I just leave it blank. What happens is Tactical Arbitrage chooses what page the first page is automatically, and sometimes on some websites, the first page is actually page number 2, and Tactical Arbitrage will figure that out for you. It'll also say last page 999. What it actually does is when it stops finding products, it sends in a stop code, and it stops scanning that particular page or category. So you can leave this blank. You don't have to do math anymore. It doesn't really matter that there are 100 products per page. It'll figure it all out. Now, this is where your saved filters are going to be. I'm going to use my no filters search for this particular item. You'll notice that actually does have some filters. And what I turn on is also show no match found and also show Amazon out of stock results. And we'll get to those here in a little while.
Before you get too far ahead, did you talk about I'm sorry, I had a call real quick, but did you talk about the categories, the category codes, and actually using that with searching?
Oh, we could do that with searching. Yeah.
Okay. So for the most part, they don't work real good for the keys. Like if you want to search for something.
Let's search for Hulk figurines. Here's the part where it doesn't really work. You can see up here there is no keys. Okay? But if you have the keys, you're going to be able to find all of these items. It's going to be under one of the toy categories. I don't know which one, but it'll be in there, I promise.
Right. So here's the issue. This is what the use of the web Walmart.com, not keys version, is, where you can, if you want to search for a product, that's where you're going to want to search. But if you're searching based on categories, never use the Walmart.com. It's just so it's slower for one thing because it's going to the website. If you use the category keys, it's actually going to be using the API, which you have to set up your API key, and it's going to connect and just pull that data right out of the back end. But that's kind of the only use. I've gone over it so many times, especially in the video if you set it up. But you only get 1,000 items per search. There's no limit on the search if you use the keys. There's categories on Walmart that have over 100,000 products in it. So I happen to have a list of what every category has in it from doing my voodoo. But
and what's really important about that, what a lot of people don't, I think a lot of people don't realize that you guys will realize, is that if people are not getting those API keys, they're missing out on a ton of areas that they can mine for profit because they're only able to go 25 pages deep. Matter of fact, let's just change this to the Walmart search here. So if you want to do the Walmart search for Hulk figurines, you can see that there's only 40 products per page, and the max you can go is 25 pages deep. That's it, and you're done. But let's say that you go into toys and games, and there's 105,000 products, then you can go after all those 105,000 products. And Michael, yes, there is a limit to your number of key hits per day. I don't exactly know how to do the math. I know it's 100,000, but there's like a refresh rate as well.
You can do 5 requests per second, and there's a limit of 1,000 calls per day. So what that means is it actually pulls 100 items at a time instead of the 40 items per page. So again, the page numbers are going to be completely different when using keys. You can get, so what that means is at the most you could get, 100,000 items. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. It's 5,000 calls a day, 5 per second. So you can get a maximum of 500,000 items, but you'll never be able to get 500,000 items because what happens is, that last page isn't going to have 100 items on it. It might have 2 items on it, or it might have 99 or 100. So you won't ever get exactly that much, but you can basically do 5,000 requests every day. Most people aren't going to, even be able to scan that many items.
The only time I've ever heard of anybody actually hitting the API limit was when they were doing 400, bulk categories. They were running rapid scan, and the Walmart keys actually had an issue where the stop code was not going out. So what Tactical Arbitrage was doing is it was going, way past what is even in the Walmart catalog because there was a little error. That's all been fixed. You guys don't have to worry about that. But that's the only time I actually hit the limit, and that's the only time it's ever happened. So, okay. So we talked about start and last page. I don't use those. I'll show you how to save a filter here in just a moment after we talk about the filters. So what you're going to have in the first ones is the source price adjustments. Now, this goes in a specific order. It is number one is store adjustments. So for example, if you're in the Tactical Arbitrage Facebook group, which I hope you are, you saw today that I posted Cabela's has 10% off site-wide. So if that were the case for Walmart, I would put 10% here. And then I'm going to be looking at my cash back. Yeah, sorry. I even I get confused on this. Start and last page feature only applies to Walmart or every compatible site. Start and last page feature applies to every single site in the book. Okay. Number 2 is cash back. And your cash back is going to go in here, whatever the best site is. I know today Active Junkie had 10% for Cabela's. And then next is going to be your gift card. And this, as long as you fill those out or fill at least 2 or 1 of them out, it will remove that price reduction from the ROI and all of that and give you actual figures. If you are not tax exempt or if you are sourcing a site that will not allow you to be tax exempt, this next box is where you put in the state sales tax figure. In Ohio, it happens to be 7.5%. You'll want to change that for whatever state you're in, or if you're shipping to a place like Prime Zero Prep, or I can never remember who Alex has used in the past out in Oregon. You get 0 tax, of course, no matter what, if they can accept the packages. Now, the next is the remove. What this is going to do is this is going to limit the number of items that you get back, okay? So if you want to put ranks in here, you can, if this is blacked out, or I'm sorry, grayed out, you actually have it already set up in your settings, but what you do need to do is choose whether or not you want to use the current ranks, the average 30-day rank, or the average 90-day rank. Now, I will say that since the feature has come out, I do now use the average 90-day rank on just about everything. And we're going to be looking at a board game category. So that'll all be in toys and games at Amazon. So I will also fudge what my maximum number is because I want to see more rather than less. So if your ceiling is, say, 500,000 in toys, I might actually even up that to 750,000 just so I can see more, because it's easy to get rid of extras but you never want to miss anything. Okay. Remove products if the number of sellers is more than X. I don't suggest necessarily using this because you're really worried about the number of sellers in the buy box rotation. So you're going to want to look and see with Tactical Edge how many people are actually competing for the buy box, which has to be a little bit of gut feeling, but we can talk about that a little bit as well. The only time I would ever suggest using this is in the reverse search or possibly wholesale if you're looking for wholesale items or trying to reverse engineer what might be good for wholesale. And we'll go over that when we get to those features. If you want to remove third-party sellers from the results, you can do that here. This tries to work on every single site. I'm sorry, this works for only Walmart right now. I was thinking out of stock. You can remove third-party sellers. So if you don't want to buy from, Jack's store on Walmart, you can do that. When I'm searching Walmart, I will typically exclude third-party sellers just because of how many bad reports there have been. Remove oversized products. You can do this. I do not suggest it. I personally really like to sell oversized products. The reason being is that other people won't do it. And if you're willing to put in the work, you can often make a much larger profit. Matter of fact, Sean and I were talking a couple of weeks ago, and I remember he was looking through appliance bestsellers or something. And
oh, yeah.
I mean, there's profits for days. If you're, I happen to be approved in appliances. If I wanted to ship in a washing machine, I could probably make a ton of money. One of my best flips ever was actually a full-sized water cooler, office water cooler. I shipped all 10 of them into Amazon. They all sold within like a week. Paid $50. I sold them for $300. They are great flips, and I had to Frankenbox and all that stuff. So it's a pain in the rear, but it can be really, really worth it. And you got to remember, not all products are that oversized. That's an outlier. Oversized could just be a really large toy. So
all those play sets are oversized.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, we actually there's actually a member in the that's in the class. She might even be here right now, but that runs a prep center. So that will take oversized products. Like it doesn't matter. Furniture, appliances, whatever you got, they'll take. They have stocks. They have UPS come with tractors and trailers every day. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, talk to me privately. I'm not going to start posting that kind of stuff. But that's something you want to do and you just haven't been able to do it, then, there's multiple prep centers, I'm sure, out there that do it. I know of at least one, so I'm sure there's more. So that's definitely an option. But guys, there's a ton of profit to be made there.
Oh, absolutely. Remove out of stock products. This works really hard on all the sites, but please don't use it. Finding out of stock products. A lot of people get into tactical arbitrage and think it's an absolute magic bullet. I'm just going to hit submit and it's going to find me products that I can just sell immediately. Well, the way you need to think about tactical arbitrage is a funnel, and not a sales funnel or anything like that, but a literal funnel. We put in as much as we can at the top, and we use tactical arbitrage to try to filter that down. But we don't want to filter it too granularly, because if we do, we're going to be missing out on a bunch of products. And removing out of stock products will do this. You might find something that's out of stock right now. For example, let's say the Super NES Classic that's coming out. You could probably go and find it at some sites right now. It's going to be out of stock at Walmart. It's going to be out of stock at Best Buy. But the thing is tactical arbitrage could notify you the minute it's in stock, and you'll be able to flip that. So removing out of stock products is probably a big no-no. in my opinion, I know Sean agrees on that one. Just because of the auto update folders, you're going to be missing out on a bunch of things. Remove if Amazon.
I'd like to talk on that for a minute.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I have about 5,000 products that we've actually gone through, looked at. I have 5,000 saved products right now in my main account. You know, and a good portion of those are out of stock things. I can show you my emails I get, you know, basically constantly of hundreds. I've showed some to Chris, and I'll get emails that hundreds of new products are now in stock. So you've seen where we showed you how to do it in your settings last week. Now you just need to do it. Set your ROI that you want to be at. Set you know it to 4 times a day or however often, and then select those. Make an out of stock folder and put the stuff in the out of stock folder. Everything that's out of stock, but don't put it there until you verified that you. If it's a product you would absolutely buy, if it was in stock right now, you make the out of stock folder, put them in there, and then keep putting them in there. I mean, what's the point of deleting them? You're just wasting time. You put them there, and you'll get emails up to 4 times a day telling you when they're in stock and meet your ROI, and they'll give you the link right to buy. You don't even have to go into tactical arbitrage. You just click on the link right from your phone if you want to. Click on the link, buy the stuff, send it to yourself or your prep center, and that's it. You don't have to verify it's a good buy because you already did that before you put it in that folder to be monitored. So don't monitor your main folder for scanning. Just monitor that separate folder. I mean, it's working amazing. Everybody who's using the TA Valet, we do the exact same thing for. They're getting amazing results. And there's just no reason not to. It's, you know, you either click a button to delete it or you click a button to move it to a folder. So you might as well just save it to that folder, and, you know, on autopilot, you're going to be getting, you know, eventually you'll be getting hundreds of results a day of products to buy that you've already verified. You know, and the more time you put into it, the more, you know, the more results you're going to get. But now, I mean, I don't even have to look for stuff anymore because we still do, obviously, but I really don't have to because, you know, sometimes I'm getting hundreds of new products that are coming in stock every day. And when we buy it, we just move it to another folder. It's as easy as that.
So yeah, in my other account that I actually use, I have one folder for the out of stock items. I have another folder for stuff that I have purchased. Is exactly what I do. I'm going to stop real quick. Jorge asked, do all products you save, are you notified when they are in stock? No, not all of them. Only the ones in the folders that you select to be auto updated. You're going to want to go watch last week's webinar where we talked all about that kind of stuff, folders and settings and all of that, and we go over that kind of in detail. Okay, let's see. Remove if Amazon contains no weight or size data. I also don't use this. And what you're going to notice a lot throughout this evening and even next week and the week after is that I try to keep my filters pretty wide open. I really don't want to become filter aggressive because you're going to lose a lot of things. Now, what will happen is if something comes back where Amazon does not contain weight or size data, and you'll see this a lot of times on listings where they're only merchant fulfilled sellers, or you can tell that it's obviously someone who is maybe drop shipping because they're trying to get around those fees for weight and size. Now, what will happen is in the results, the profit after fees will show up as red. And that just means that there's no weight or size data. Now, you can go in and fix that. and you can put in the weight and size data and all that into Amazon. What Tactile Arbitrage is going to do is it's going to use 12 by 12 by 12 and 1 pound to figure out the weight and handling fees and the shipping calculations to Amazon. So what you're going to find is if you come across one of those products, which is not as often as you might think, the calculation might be a little bit off, but you might really be able to find some gold there because someone else was too lazy to create the listing properly. This next filter is remove if Amazon is, yeah.
So what most people don't understand is how those happen. That's probably an amazing product because Amazon automatically, or they, as far as I know, they automatically do that weight and size when it's checked in for the first time. So when you list it, it may ask you, what the dimensions are, but it's not really available to other people until you get it, until it gets there to the warehouse. So if you have those products blocked out so you don't see them, it probably, though, your fees may be just a little bit off, but it's probably a product that's never been sold on FBA. And if it's meeting your other folders, like a good rank, a good ROI, then it's probably going to be an awesome product to be selling.
Exactly. So Hale asks, what's the highest you will go with the rank filter? That depends on category, time of year, all kinds of things. I'm going to be completely honest. There are some times when I will run without a rank filter at all, and I'll just look at the Keepa chart because that's really more important than rank. You're also going to find that if you really want to move into shoes and clothing, you can pretty much forget using rank. You really need to try to keep track of things like reviews. Rank is something that has, as long as I've been an Amazon seller, something that has kind of been preached as gospel. And it seems like over the past 6 months or so, people are starting to really realize and even teach that rank is really just one metric and one of the smaller, less important metrics you need to pay attention to when making a purchasing decision. Use Keepa first. If Keepa doesn't have the answer, go to reviews. If the reviews don't have the answer, then go to the rank and figure out what you're thinking about. But then also check how many variations there are, especially in clothing and shoes. Make sure you can find out which one is actually popular and which one. I have a shoe that I bought 5 months ago. Wasn't paying attention. The shoes were like $5. So I just threw them in the cart and bought them. They're still sitting there because I made a bad decision. But then there are other shoes that might look like garbage if you look at the rank on them. However, they've got reviews. Maybe they have 5 to 10 reviews over the past month. They're the most popular color and size. And even if the rank doesn't look so hot right now, it's probably going to sell very, very quickly. So the rank filter is really just something to try to narrow that funnel at the top, but it really should not be the end-all, be-all of your purchasing decision. I hope that answers that. Okay. Remove if Amazon is also a seller and now in stock. I also don't use this filter. I am happy to sell along with Amazon as long as I can make a profit. Typically, I might want a little bit of extra profit so that I can stay competitive with the buy box. You'll notice I don't say beat the buy box. I stay competitive with the buy box when Amazon is in stock. And I know that sometimes they will bring their price down to try to increase sales velocity. And I might want to follow them down a little bit. But I will happily sell right along with Amazon. If Amazon is a seller, will they ever give you the buy box? Yes, absolutely. 99% of the time, you will get sales. The buy box, there's a great book out there called The Buy Box Bible. I can't remember who wrote it, but Amazon being a seller is just one of the metrics of getting the buy box. you've got to remember that maybe your inventory has all gone to California, and maybe Amazon has their inventory in Ohio and South Carolina and Florida, and you've got someone buying in California. Amazon is going to send your item. It's cheaper. It'll get to the customer faster. Amazon is not necessarily going to send one from Florida just because, it's their product. They're going to happily share the buy box with you on many occasions. And just because it doesn't look like you're getting the buy box where you're at, you may be getting the buy box in another location. Sean is in Florida. I'm in Ohio. We could be looking at the same product at the same time, and the person who has the buy box for him could be someone different than who has the buy box for me, depending on the location of their inventory and a bunch of other things that I don't even want to understand. So yes, I will go against Amazon, and yes, you will get the buy box as long as you stay competitive. Now, if you want Amazon to brain you over the head, they will beat you on price every day, all day, and then ask if you want to come back for more. I would not try to beat them by a penny or beat them by 2 pennies. I would stay within 1% to 2% of their pricing. That's what I do. Okay. Remove if number of reviews is less than X. I can't remember why these were put in there. I know they were feature requests. You can also remove if a rating is lower than X. I don't ever use these, but what they will do is if you want something, if you want to sell something that only has 100 or more reviews, you could put 100 in there. If you want to sell something that only has 500 or more reviews, you could do that as well. I never use it. I'm not ever too worried about reviews, except for when I'm looking at something and using it as a metric as to whether it's a good purchase. Remove if the rating is lower than X. I don't often use this either. I'm not ever too worried about the rating. Returns are never a huge deal. They can be in electronics and things like that. So this might be a place where you would use them. But I'll be honest with you. I sold Chewbacca masks after the Chewbacca lady went crazy, and that thing went from like a 5-star rating down to a 2-star rating because people were selling it for $200, and so everybody was complaining. So the rating number can be misleading at times. But if you only want to sell products that are 3 stars and above or 3.2 stars and above, you can do that, and that will accept a decimal point. Excuse me. Remove products if Amazon title contains the words X. Now, if you want to remove things like bundle, case, pack, quantity, things like that, you can. I don't. I'll match those up, or actually Sean's VA will match those up for me because you could be missing out on a lot of profit if you do that, but some people don't want to spend the time. Sorry, got a dry mouth tonight, guys. Remove product if Amazon buy box is not at least X times the store price. Now, the godfather of online arbitrage and maybe even retail arbitrage, Chris Green, kind of coined a rule when you're first getting started that your sell price should be 3 times what you purchase it for. So if you buy something for 10, you should be able to sell it for 30. And the ruling on that was 1/3 for your buy price, 1/3 for Amazon to take, and 1/3 to take home. Now that is figuring a 100% ROI. You can still use a filter for that. I don't suggest it. And the reason being is that my return on investment, is kind of on a sliding scale. If I'm buying something that has an average 90-day rank of 500, and I know that I could move through, 10 or 20 or 50 units a day, I'm willing to make 10 cents on the dollar on that item. But if I know that it's going to sit for a month, I'm not gonna accept 10 cents on my dollar. I'm gonna want 50, 60, another dollar on my dollar. So I don't really use this filter very often. I don't really see a reason for it, but some people wanted it, so it's there. I forgot one. Sorry, guys. Remove products with an Amazon price less than X. There was actually a debate in one of the Facebook groups recently, about selling products under $10. And a lot of people absolutely do not want to do that. I understand. I know someone who's a very successful seller here in Ohio, and they have a lot of these, what they call filler products, that they'll actually use as dunnage in their packages to Amazon. They're, candies and things like that. A lot of times you can buy items that will sell for less than 10 and still make a nice profit margin on them. Now, you may not want to do it all the time because, why sell 100 units when you could sell 2 units and make the same amount of profit. However, you don't necessarily want to overlook these items. They can make make a car payment every month pretty easily, and a lot of them will be replenishables. Let's see here. Okay, now the seasonal buy box prices and calculations. This one is an interesting filter. I don't use it very often, but at times I will use it for holidays that are coming up. Halloween is the next one that's going to be a good one. If you want to make bank on candy, I would actually probably start really soon looking for Halloween candy. And what you could do is, if you turn this filter on, you can actually choose a metric to go against. So you can choose the last 7 days, the last 14 days, the last 30 days this month or last month, or you can choose a custom range. Now, let's say, there we go. Let's say that I want to know, why is it not coming up there? Oh, sorry, I'm going forward, not backward. Sorry, guys. So let's say that I want to know what Halloween candy was selling at from October 21st through November the 1st. Because trust me, people still buy candy after Halloween, and they'll pay high prices for it. 21st through 1st. There we go. And now you hit apply. Now what that is going to do is that's going to take the prices that are at the source site and compare them to the Amazon prices from whatever date that you set in there. Now, like I said, I've used it for Halloween candy. I've used it for Christmas candy. You could use it for bundles. You could use it for toys on occasion. If you know something that's perennially hot, you may want to know what the price was last year to see whether or not it's something you want to start stocking up on. And so that can be a nice little filter to use on occasion, but typically I leave that off. All right. Before I go any further, anybody have any questions? Sean, do you have anything to interject?
Not in this area.
Okay. Let me check the chat. Nothing so far. All right. So those are the remove. Now we're going to go to the source titles. If you want to remove a word from the source title before searching, you can. There's only one website I know of where I would ever suggest using this, and that's 511 Tactical. 511 Tactical always has a 5.11 in their source title. That typically will not show up on Amazon. So if you're sourcing from 511 Tactical, I would probably put 5.11 in this remove from source title just to make it a little bit easier because it is a title search site. Other than that, I've really never used this filter. If you want to add a word to the source title before searching on Amazon, for example, if you are, let's say that you're sourcing groceries and you know that you are looking for bundles, you could put bundle in there. You could put ketchup or anything you can think of, you can put it in there. And then if you want to remove if the source title does not contain, you can also do that. So if the source title does not contain pack or quantity or bundle, you could put all of those in there as well. Honestly, typically, I won't use those. They're things I don't use very often, if ever. Now, the next is your costs. We went over how to have these in your settings, but if you do not have them in your settings, you can use them here as well. If you're using a prep house or you happen to have some fixed costs, if you're maybe paying a child or a friend maybe per diem to pack and prep boxes. Sorry guys, I got logged out. All right. If you're paying per diem, if you have a fixed price, you can do that. If you're paying a prep center, you are going to have a fixed price. If you're creating a bundle, you can put that in there as well. That's probably a little bit of a harder one to figure out if you're buying multiple items to bundle, but it's there. And then your cost per pound to ship to Amazon. Now, this is going to vary, of course. However, I typically use 80 cents, and I figure that counts for my box and my tape to ship everything into Amazon per pound. If you happen to be buying and selling enough to use LTL, you're probably somewhere closer to like 25 cents per pound. So do what fits best for your business. Now, your profit and ROI. These ones are important. So your gross profit of at least X number of dollars. So if you don't want to see anything that's going to make you less than $5 or $7, that's where you're going to put that figure in, is right here, say $5. Now, I don't typically use that. I will only use this gross ROI filter, but it is an option that is available to you. And now the gross ROI, I typically want to make at least 50% ROI, but I want to give myself some leeway. Perhaps there's something that's not profitable right now, but once the step ahead sheet tells me, hey, there's a discount on this site, it may become profitable very quickly. So I typically use 30%. If I happen to be searching for something, for example, sometimes I'll search for items that are have really fast sales velocity. I might even put in 10% in there just to see what kind of things come up. I want to see more and more. And says if you have fixed costs set in the settings and you put something different in the search settings, does the fixed setting cancel out what you added in the search? No. If you have your fixed cost in the settings, those costs will be grayed out in the filters, and you won't be able to change them. All right, now we have some other filters. Now you're going to want to be careful with some of these. This also show no match found results. This is actually something you may want to turn on, and what it's going to do is if there's no match, it will actually show you the product. And so what will happen is you'll have the product from the source site. It'll show that there's no match on Amazon, and you could actually take the time to match it yourself or maybe save it for a VA or something like that. You can also only show no match found results. This would allow you to only see items that we don't think there's a match for on Amazon. Tactical Arbitrage doesn't think there's a match for on Amazon, and you could then match those yourself or have a VA match those for you. And then, of course, while the global matching game is still on, you'd get credit there and possibly find a diamond in the rough as well. You can also show Amazon out of stock products. I always turn this on. I always want to see if an item is at a source site, but it's also out of stock on Amazon. Now, you do need to be a little, excuse me, a little careful with this filter. The reason being is that sometimes there will be duplicate listings in the Amazon catalog, and something may be out of stock on one listing that Tactical Arbitrage has pulled back, but it's actually on another listing in stock, and the other listing may actually be the proper listing. In the future, both ASINs will show, and you'll be able to, look right inside of TA at both of the listings on Amazon. Now, you also have the option to show only Amazon out of stock results. And this one you need to be a little bit even more careful with, because it will pull back things that are only out of stock on Amazon. But again, there might be another listing that it's actually in stock on. Now, excuse me, one of the most powerful features in the product search feature itself is the ability to also reverse search results for more sources. So if I find a plush from Walmart, it's also at the same time going to see if that plush is sold at Target and Best Buy and wherever else might sell plushies. And if it comes back that fits your filters, you'll see multiple results. Now, at times I've been able to use this to find a product that is maybe sold for one price at Walmart, but it's cheaper at Target, or perhaps I have better cash back or better gift cards at Kohl's. And if I have all those set up properly in my settings, then it will pull those back properly, and I'll be able to get the better price without having to go out and do manual searching. This also technically allows you to do 2 reverse searches at once, because you can run that feature in your product search, and you can then go and run another reverse search at the same time. So it's really the only place you can kind of double, well, that's not true, because you could also kind of double dip in wholesale as well. So that's something that I always turn on, at least UPC stores. You can turn on title stores as well. The matches may not be as good, but it's possible that you could find something that's not necessarily low-hanging fruit that other people won't figure out. Rich says, if you put those amounts in settings and then again in filters by mistake, will it calculate twice? You are not able to put the costs in the settings and in the filters. I don't have mine set up. This is kind of my, you can see I have a check user feature over here. I can actually check everybody's accounts, check for bugs, things like that. This is my my TA support account, so it doesn't have a whole lot of things set up on it. But no, you can't put them in both places, so that's never an issue. Now, the last thing is you can save any filter that you create. For example, I will save this as TA webinar filter. And anytime I come back in here, I can just choose the TA webinar filter, and I know that it will auto-populate everything in here that I've put in so far. And I create several of those. On my other account, I have one for toys, I have one for groceries, I have one for something else I can't remember, but I have several. And you can do that as well. You save as many of those as possible. Make sure you save them descriptively, and you'll be able to never have to go through those, more than 5 or 6 times as you create your filters. Once you do that, it's time to run through a category. Rather than run through a category, since it's already 9 o'clock, I'm going to show you guys what I do with bulk lists. Carla, if you will PM me, I'll get that put into the feature request list. Let's talk bulk lists. I'm going to show you Sean's Walmart bulk list. This is a virgin. I've never touched it before bulk list, and I want to show you exactly what I do with it and how I would use it to actually do a product search. So you can see here that Sean's bulk list has every single category on the Walmart catalog. A lot of people don't know this, but the Walmart catalog is growing extremely quickly. The last time I checked, they had something around 80 million SKUs. And because of third-party sellers, it is growing every single day. And of course, they're trying to grow it as well. So what you're going to notice in all of Sean's lists, and you guys should have at least 10 of them by now, is this column over here. You have to delete it before scanning. That is no longer the case. You can leave it in there. Tactical Arbitrage now has smart upload feature, so you don't have to delete that. And so now I don't any longer. The start and last page is also in here because this used to be absolutely mandatory, but it is no longer mandatory. And take a look at this, 1,018 pages. That's insane.
That means it has over 100,000 items in it.
Yeah, easily. Yeah, see,
100 items per page.
1,018.
Or 40 items per page.
Oops, I did that wrong. So there's 101,800 in that catalog, or in that category alone. Now, what I do with Sean's lists now is I do delete out the start and the last page. And if you ever want to get a fresh list again, you just go to gum.co/library. Anything you've purchased or downloaded is going to be there forever. So if you screw up a list, you can go download a fresh one. In my own list, I save all my lists to Google Drive. So I always save a virgin list, and then I have how I mess with them all around the other ones. So now what I do is I actually take this and I will sort it by the category name. So if you go over here and you highlight what is column B now, and sort this, I like to go alphabetically. It'll ask you to expand the selection, and I click sort. And now what I have here is I have this in alphabetical order by category. Now, I remove a bunch of these. I'm not selling anything in auto and tires. I'm not doing any auto body or paint. Hang
on, Chris. Even if you do, there's a lot of things here. I've only met 2 people ever who can sell hazmat. So even if you're selling an auto, which it's not that hard to do, there's things on every list that you don't want to sell. Things like when Chris scrolls down, you'll see there's a whole set of categories on motor oil, which he already passed, but it doesn't matter. Anything that you think is hazmat, the motor oil and transmission subcategory, look at all the names of the subcategories. Additives, automotive cleaners, grease, oil, sprays, motor oil, refrigerants, transmission, and steering fluid. You can't sell any of that stuff unless you're approved for hazmat. And even if you are, you still can't sell a lot of it. Nothing that contains alcohol, nothing that's under pressure, no aerosols, as well as oils aren't okay either. So even if you can sell in a category, that doesn't mean it's okay. You need to, it's going to take an hour to do a good size list. This has over 1,500 categories in it. It's going to take some time, but you're going to do it once. You're going to take, and the first step is to remove everything either you're not approved in, or you can't, or you don't want to sell in. And there's going to be a lot of that.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm gonna just, I highlight these and I'm gonna delete them. I'm just gonna get rid of them. I'll go and do that for other things as well. And then once I have things deleted out of here, like for example, I'm not sourcing Walmart for books. I just don't do it. So I've taken all the books out of Walmart. There's probably some gold there. I'm just not interested in selling books from Walmart. Let's get all. There's a ton.
I don't buy new books to sell new books on Amazon.
Yeah,
it doesn't work. I mean, I've talked about this before. Most people probably know, but new, according to Amazon, for a book means it's never been opened. Like the pages have never cracked. every book in every bookstore is not considered new as far as Amazon goes. So, there's no reason to even mess with them. Why waste time scanning something that it's either going to be removed by filters or you're going to delete it? You're just wasting time. And by wasting time, you're losing time. You could scan something else, something better.
Excuse me. I know that Sean would probably delete like shoes. I won't necessarily delete shoes from Walmart. There's some money to be made in toddler shoes and things like that. If you're not restricted in Nike, surprising, and now they are all third-party sellers, so you'd have to take that with a grain of salt. But there's actually quite a bit of Nike shoes being sold on Walmart.com now. And some of them are surprisingly profitable, but you're taking a chance, so your mileage may vary there. Now, once I have this pared down a little bit from I'm not going to sell frozen food. I have all those things taken out of there. The other thing that I personally do is I actually break these lists up into categories. So I have a Walmart toys and video games list. I have a Walmart health list. I have a Walmart food list. So that's how I personally break them up, and I will run them through over and over again. So I'm actually going to show you, just do this live here, what one of my Walmart lists looks like. There we go. All right. You'll see that I accidentally deleted out the header. That's okay too. Tactical Arbitrage will figure it out. But you'll see here that I just have toys and video games. It's 111 different categories. And this is what one of my lists looks like. I'll run this over and over again. During Q4, this thing gets worn out. That's just the way it works. So once you have it saved like this, I'll go ahead and save this now. I'm going to show you how to import that bulk category list the easiest way. Tactical Arbitrage will now take CSV, XLS, or XLSX. These are all, this is a comma-separated file. These other two are Excel files. You choose your file, and that's the Walmart bulk list. Open that. And you're going to, the other thing I should note here, you can download an example of what your file needs to look like right here. Okay. Now, this still looks like the old file way that it has the start page, the last page, and the domain and the category. But because Smart Upload is here now, you actually don't need the start page or the last page. However, you will need the domain if you're doing a multi-domain bulk list. And I'll show you how to do that in a second as well. Now, once you have your bulk list chosen, you're going to click Upload. And it's actually going to figure out for you what's in here. So it'll pick the source category URL/code just because it knows what it looks like. We can see that the first scanning page and the last scanning page is not defined because I removed them. And the source domain is not defined because we don't need it and I don't have it in there. And if you click Upload, it is now ready to go, except you need to put in the website if you're doing a single domain bulk scan. So we're using Walmart Keys for this. We've got our TA webinar filter, which actually didn't save properly since it got logged out. Sheila says if you use Google Drive, you can download to those different file types from the file menu. Yeah, you do not have to have Microsoft Excel. It just happens to be what I have on my computer. But no, you can absolutely use Google Drive. It's free. You don't have to pay the $5 a month or whatever Microsoft charges my credit card every month. Now, you have to choose the website if you're using a single domain in your bulk list, and then the category, the start page, the last page, that's all going to be for naught. You don't need it. You just click on submit, and it will get running for you. Now, this is going to be a little slow because I'm actually doing a live search because this is my test account. But if we were doing the 5-day cache, this would be zipping through things really, really fast. Matter of fact, I should probably go just turn that on. Now, it will not change in the middle of a scan, but on my next scan, it will work. It'll work perfectly. Now, let's do, before we go too far, I'm going to show you the logs so you can see some things here. If you're ever having an issue, this is a good place to look. Let's see. Glenn says, for the bulk list, do you leave start and stop blank? Yes. I personally don't fill in the start and stops any longer. And I actually delete them out of the lists that I get from Sean. Can you change?
We don't put that stuff in the list anymore.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So, when a list gets updated, we're not putting that in there. When we make a new list, we're not putting that in there. But surprisingly, even with millions of new products, stores like Walmart are still using the same categories. So there's millions of more products in there, but the category structure changes very little. Usually it's the layout of the websites that change more often than the category structure. And, sometimes the actual, format that, their URLs are changed. And that's when we usually are doing the updates. But the actual categories still are not changing very much.
Kenneth has a good question before I start digging into some of the log information. Doesn't Toys and Video Games list violate the total number of pages that you can run in one scan? I thought it was 400. So that's a little off, and here's where it's off. It doesn't matter how many pages are in a category. What matters is how many rows are in your bulk list. So there could be 2,000 pages in a category. That's not a problem. Tactical arbitrage will run for up to 60 hours before it stops. But you may only have 400 rows of categories in a bulk list. Once you have 401, even if it goes through all 400, it's not going to do 401. And I get a lot of questions. Hey, can I, you'll see that you can start a bulk list from a row. Can I just put in 401? No. You need to have your bulk lists pared down to 400 lines each, 400 rows each. Eventually that'll be in there, but it just doesn't work that way. The reason the start from row number is in there is, let's say that you were searching through that 1,000 pages of rugs category. Who knows? It could take 30, 40 hours. And if TA stops, you're going to want to be able to start from row number 2 or row number 5 or number 10, wherever it happens to be. Can you change the title name of your bulk list? Absolutely. You can name your bulk list whatever you want. They're on your computer or your Google Drive. You can name them anything you please. Jorge says, can you post the address where you can download fresh versions of Gumroad purchased items? That is gum.co/library. You have to be logged in for that to work. How often the bulk list from previous webinar sessions still work? Yeah, as long as you have them, they still work. How long is the Walmart bulk list updated? I'll let Sean answer this.
How often? Well, I think I just literally answered that. So
okay. It doesn't need updated often, guys. It just doesn't.
They all come with unlimited updates, so that's why we didn't just like send you a bunch like we've done for past ones. We sent you coupons to download whatever you want, so that way you'll be able to get updates. So it comes with unlimited updates, so that means as long as we're doing them, you'll get them for free. We're not going to at some point say, well, you have to buy them again because you bought it a year ago or whatever it is. As long as we're doing the updates, you'll have access to them.
And so there's something I think a lot of people don't realize. I know that I would have never realized it before I really started getting into online arbitrages. Website categories are really not updated very often. If you look at Amazon, for example, Amazon has had the same, 24 or 27 top level categories for as long as I can remember. The last time they got a new one was when Kindles became a thing. And then there was a Kindle top level category. And grocery. Yeah.
Right.
So that's really the only time you're ever going to see a new category be added to a website is if if Amazon gets into pharmaceuticals, they'll start having a pharmaceutical category. But other than that, categories don't really change. So these things don't need updated as often as you might think. When or where are the coupons for the bonuses from Sean? PM me, William. I believe that I've emailed you or PM'd you once today, so you may want to check there. If you haven't, please message me on Facebook, and I will take care of you. That goes for anybody else. Okay, I'm going to stop this, and we're going to build a multi-domain bulk list very quickly. We will start a scan with it, and then we'll look at some view data so you can see what the view data page looks like, and then we'll make sure we get all the questions answered and maybe get out of here by 10 o'clock. I'm going to do a Walmart. Let's do action figures. We'll do Walmart and we will do Target because they're nice and easy and they show you two different ways. I'll show you a UPC and a regular, we'll show you a UPC and then we'll also show a category code. So I have the bulk example downloaded from Tactical Arbitrage, and you'll see here category, start page, last page, domain. Now, what I do personally is I delete the start and last page because they are not needed, and I don't need to now do the math to figure out how many pages I need. The category is always going to be either the category ID. Actually, this will work without us having to do anything. Be the category ID, and then you need the domain for which that category comes from. So what you'll notice is that the category on Target is the numbers and the letters that come after the N and the dash in the URL. You can find them. Oh, forgot. Let's go to categories and back to college. Dorm room ideas. So in this dorm room ideas category, you'll see the N-4SKD6. This would be the category that you would need to put into that list. Now, when you're doing a multi-domain bulk list, you do need to put the domain in here. You do not need http://www. You always need to leave that out. It automatically gets put in by Tactical Arbitrage. You just need target.com, walmart.com, but Walmart is special. If you're doing walmart.com, you need to put in the keys in parentheses if you're doing the keys. If you are doing this, for example, if you're doing the action figures search URL, you're going to copy that, put it in here, And then rather than the keys, you actually just put in walmart.com. No keys. Nope. Sorry, guys. And that's what it will need to look like if you are using something that's not keys, okay? Once you have that all filled out, oh, and you can copy and paste from any of Sean's lists and create your own and anything you want to do. Once you have that all filled in, it's ready to upload and get into a multi-domain bulk list search. And you upload that the exact same way we talked about before. You import it, upload the new file. Tactical Arbitrage will figure out everything else basically for you. Tay, please PM me and I'll get you all that. Okay, let's go look at some view data and see what we've got. Okay, I'm going to manage the columns. So you're going to see here that I have the domain and I had the title turned off. The product image is turned on. Amazon return after fees. I'm actually just going to set this to default. I want the keep a graph on. So you can change the way this looks any way you want through the column visibility, which is under the manage columns. Now, I will show you what I do. I have the quantity turned on because if I'm sourcing groceries, I'm going to want to be able to easily change that. I usually will turn the domain off to save me some space. I have two other ways to find out where this is from. I don't really care where I'm buying from. I care about profit, ROI, and that the items match. I will leave the title on because it's clickable and it will take me to the source site. I leave the product image on so that I can easily match things. I want to know the price. I will want to know the adjusted price if I'm using the filters. I want to know if it's in stock. I want to know the Amazon title, the Amazon image. I actually typically don't care to leave the Amazon category on here, but you can if that's important to you. Perhaps you can't sell in grocery, but sometimes there will be an edible item that's actually in health and beauty. Sometimes there's something that you think might be health and beauty that's in grocery, so that may be important to you. I have a fairly wide open account, so I actually leave that off. I typically leave the brand off. I'm not brand restricted on too many things, but some people are. So if you want to leave the brand on, you can. The ASIN, I leave that on because that is where you can edit the ASIN. If it's wrong, if it's missing the, if it's a mismatch, you edit the ASIN there. I turn off the Amazon UPC. I don't really care to see that, and it saves me some room. I don't care to see the UPC from the source site either. I do want to know the Amazon buy box price, the return after fees, the gross profit, the return after prep and ship I leave off because I can figure that out with my gross profit and gross ROI. If the number of new sellers is important to you, that is an option. The weight and the product size, I don't really care. That's all figured into your profit and ROI anyway. I do want to see the sales rank. To save myself some room, I have turned off my 30-day average, and I just leave on the current and the average 90-day, but you can turn on all three if you choose. I typically have reviews turned off and the rating turned off. I do always want my Keep a Graph on. And then one of the things that I find to be actually really important is the last update. And that's going to tell you when the item was last updated to fresh data. And I click save, and that's going to save it any way you want it. Now, the other thing is you can move every single column in here. I know that Sean will tell you that he likes to keep his images right next to each other. Make it nice and easy to scan through them to make sure that they match. I like to make sure that my sales rank and my average sales rank are right next to each other. Now, the only reason I keep the new sellers on is because it's got this microscope in it, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Let's see what else here. Typically, I have the brand turned off. I forgot to turn that off. Brand.
Domains at the top.
Oh, yeah, domains there. Yeah, I keep my domain turned off just because I don't care too much. But you can see the way that I have it all built now, I have it all on one screen. I don't have to scroll over anywhere to see anything. It's just ready to go for me to view everything. Now, your Keepa chart, I think this is super handy. I always want to have this on because at a really quick glance, even if I don't see the sales rank or see the average sales rank, I can see that over the past year, this actually sold pretty well. I can break this down into 90 days if I want, 31 days, and it'll change for you. So you can get a ton of information without having to actually go anywhere. Now, I can also see that this was last updated on 8/31/2017. This is in European style or Australian style at 15:13 or 2:13 Australia time, which is about the right time in Australia. That's because I was running a live scan. Now, if you're using cache, you might actually see that this was a day ago or 4 days ago or even 5 days ago, depending on your cache. And that can give you an idea as to whether or not you want to update this item, which you can do with this button right here. You can get updated data if you want to do a single. You can select a few of them and click update data if you want to update more than one at a time. And you have the ability to update only the source price, update adjusted prices, update only the Amazon data, or update all data. Now, when I do these, if I have 50 or 100 items, I will typically update all data and then come back and go through my list. Excuse me. Does the Keepa chart ever show the Amazon price? TA returns in not the price. Oh, and not the price it is really selling at. Occasionally, Keepa has errors sometimes, or the data is not refreshed as often as it should. In these, this is called an iframe, and it's something that Keepa allows you to do, where you can embed their what are these called? These graphs. And these things are not as far reaching and don't give you as much information as the full Keepa chart. So sometimes things will be a little bit wonky, but typically this gives you enough information at a glance to help things out. But all you got to do is click on the actual graph itself, and it will take you right over to the full Keepa chart, where you can view everything, including the new third-party fulfilled by merchant. Everything is there. Okay. Now, one of the coolest features inside of this is the microscope. What this is going to do is, it says see competing for the buy box, but this is actually going to open up Tactical Edge on this particular ASIN. You're going to see 20 sellers that are on this particular ASIN. Up here, you can see the current rank, the 30-day rank, and the 90-day rank. You can see what size it is, the current, the buy price based on the sourcing site, the UPCs, the rating, the ASIN. There are short links for Camel, 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 and Keepa, as well as Amazon Seller Central to see if you are restricted on an item. But if you have Storefront Stalker Pro, the other thing that you get to do is you can press this little blue button right here, and this is going to open a new tab. It's going to fill in a reverse search for you automatically, which we'll get to once we get to reverse search. But it's actually going to allow you to download all the ASINs from that particular store. So that's actually something that's pretty cool. The other thing you can do is if you click on the name, let's see someone here who actually probably has quite a few ASINs. You click My Nutrition to Go, this will actually take you directly to their storefront. So you could go here and stalk their storefront if you want, look at their other items, all kinds of things. Okay. Then you also get to see who has the buy box. There's no buy box on this one. That's strange. Typically, you'll see who has the buy box. Let me have to open this up and see who has it, if anyone. Oh, there is no buy box on this. It's suppressed. That's actually a good one to see. So the reason there is no, what you'll see is a BB over by one of these seller names is when someone has the buy box. But what you can do is you can see how many everybody has in stock, and you can also see the price that they're selling at. For example, one of the reasons I wouldn't care too much about this particular item is if I could purchase it and it was a good flip at $35, I'm really only going to care probably about these top 7 or 8 sellers, because I'm guessing most of these other people are holding for the item to go up in price like Legos do. But that's all the information you get from that microscope. Let's see what else we've got here. The heart button will allow you to save it to a folder. Once you heart it, you can then choose the folder option. It's going to tell you where it's saved. Now, I don't think that's the best way to do it, so I'm actually going to unheart that. And the way that I actually like to save things is I will select them, and I will then move it to a folder. And you can also, or copy it to a folder if you want to. Select this item, and perhaps I want to put this in my out of stock folder. I'll move it there. You have a little bit more control that way. Let's say, for example, that this is a 2-pack on Amazon. You can click the pencil button under quantity, and you can update that to 2 or 3 or 23, whatever you want it to be. You can click the little check mark button, and it's actually going to turn the background a purplish color. I'm not going to do it because it's not right on this one. But if you ever run across any of those, you'll actually see the background is a purplish color, and you know that someone has been there and changed the quantity for you. You can also edit the ASIN. So if these happen to be mistaken, you can go and find the proper listing on Amazon, and then you'll put the right ASIN there, click the check mark, and it will update everything for you automatically. I also won't do that either. So that is really how you here. Have you experienced that checking multiple items while a search are running, some or all of them get unselected and then aren't moved or deleted when you select or move? Yes, that does happen. Colt, the reason that happens is if you're in there messing with multiple items, sometimes this page will refresh because it's kind of like Tactical Arbitrage server is refreshing to bring in more items. So yes, that will happen on occasion. Does it actually show what Amazon has in stock if they were on the listing? You're talking about Tactical Edge. So the answer to that is yes and no. If Amazon is showing the true amount that they have in stock, yes, it will show it. However, if Amazon has a limit, you're going to see that. So a lot of times what you'll notice, especially during Q4, is you'll see that Amazon will only allow you to order 3 of something. Well, it's going to say 3 or maybe even 5, depending on what they say. If you come across a listing that Amazon is on and they are really deep in stock, this will typically say 999 because that's all that Amazon will allow you to show. What does it mean when no one has the buy box? It means profits. Now, typically a suppressed buy box is where there is no regular buy box, the one click to buy. They have to click through to see the sellers, and that's what they call a suppressed buy box. And that typically means that an item is selling on Amazon for over MSRP. which is stated on a listing either by Amazon who created it or by whoever else may have created the listing. And that's all it is. Just means that it's being sold for more than sticker price. Software's crazy powerful. Yes, it is. I ask because I seem to get results that shows a great ROI according to TA, but it doesn't look like they have ever really sold at that price. Oh, okay. We talked about that already. Yeah, sometimes you'll need to look deeper into those. If you have an example, share it in the Facebook group, and we can kind of tear it apart because reading a Kepograph is important, and everybody would benefit from that. If I had an example I could show you right now, we could tear apart a Kepograph and deep dive into it, but we could just do that in the Facebook group. Does managing columns manage them for all searches at once, or do they have to be managed individually? So when you are in here changing around the way things look, this is only for product search. If I go over to my reverse search and I view reverse, probably don't have anything in here. Oh, I do. You can see that it's a bit different. Okay. Not sure where what I did here. Anyway, you can see that this has you see my images are really far apart. Everything's kind of jumbled up a little bit. So no, it's only one at a time. Can you get the Keep a Chart sales rank to flip? Not 100% sure what you mean. So maybe I do. Inside of tactical arbitrage, no. Outside of tactical arbitrage, yes. You can click this little button over here by the Amazon or the sales rank, and right now you'll see that dips mean a sale or even multiple sales. And if you click this button here, you'll now see that the bar graph is flipped, and spikes mean sales or changes in the sales rank. Barry asked, do you typically find yourself running more scans of multiple categories from a single domain bulk list or multi-domain bulk list scans of a single category? I am lazy, Barry, and I don't like to make multi-domain bulk lists. So I typically run multiple. Actually, I don't run multiple categories. Typically, I break my bulk lists up into categories. I don't always max out the 400 rows that I can. And I'll do Walmart toys with the reverse search turned on. I'll do Walmart sports and outdoors with the reverse search turned on. And that's how I will run things through. If it's a smaller site, Sean, can you think of a smaller site off the top of your head? Mattel.
Mattel, yes, very small.
Mattel is less than 100 categories. If it's a site like that, I'll just run the whole site. I won't even break it up. Let's see. What's the website address that I could download the bulk list made by Sean? Just PM me. I'll get that for you. When your results come in with 5-day cache, do you update everything before you start looking at the results? No, I don't. So, like I said, I treat this like a funnel. So what I would do, and this is a Walmart site. Sorry, that's the wrong one. This is Walmart, so I'm not going to see a lot of mismatches here. But the first thing that I would do is I would go through and see if things don't match. And I'm not going to take the time to find the matches. So I'm going to delete those right away. Actually, let me step back for a second. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get all of this data out of my view data screen, and I'm going to get it into my product results to review. That way I can go start another scan while I'm looking at these. And let's go to view data and saved list. Now, when I'm actually looking through the data,
is there a reason why you do that?
I like to, I don't know. I think I might be borderline OCD, so I like to keep my view data screen just for stuff that's running. And then I move everything over to a separate folder so I can look at it while the view data is running a new scan. No particular reason other than just the way I like to do it. Now, when you're in here, what I would do, the first thing I would do is I would take any mismatches and I just get rid of them because I'm not going to spend the time matching mismatches. Now, if you have more time than money, do it. If you have more money than time, find items that are profitable before going and getting mismatches. But yeah, I'll get rid of any mismatches. This particular, like this here, this is a mismatch, okay? Looks really, really close, but it's not, so it's gone. And you can mark it as a mismatch, or you can delete the product, mark it as a mismatch, and someone else can go in and find the right product. Here is another mismatch. I'm not sure why a book pulled up, but I'll get this out of here too, mark it as a mismatch. After I get it pared down some where I see only matches and things that fit my filters, for example, I may sort this by ROI, and maybe I only want the things that are, this shows 571% ROI. We can see that it has a pretty high average rank, but the current rank is pretty nice. Let's see. This was updated just very, very recently, so there was a recent sale. If this was checked 4 days ago, I would probably update this. And if this is actually in stock, I may buy one or two and send them in because it's such a big profit margin. So I try to pare it down as much as I can, and then I'll update the results. Typically, I'll click update and go have lunch or something and come back and look at them. When searching grocery items, is there any way to determine the expiration date on items retrieved? No, there's not. Grocery items, I look for things typically that are going to have a long shelf life. And Sean's the grocery king, not me. But I'm looking for box items, canned goods, stuff like that. But you can't know on Walmart or Meijer or Target what the expiration date is going to be.
What I tell people is to look at, kind of the middle of the road. You're going to, they're going to give you like the middle. They're not going to, if something has a 2-year shelf life, don't expect it to arrive with 2 years out. And, if you're buying Twinkies, they're definitely going to be expired. I mean, you can't sell Twinkies anyway, but, if you're selling goods that are going to barely make it, you're not going to make it. So you need to expect whatever the shelf life is, cut it in half, and then ask yourself, is that product going to be able to, am I still going to be able to make that expiration date? And if the answer is no, then just move on. There's plenty of stuff to buy. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. You don't have to worry about, figuring, out if you're going to be able to make it in time. You don't have to worry about, don't worry about any of that. If you have plenty of time, then get it. If not, move on. There's just so much stuff to buy now that, don't worry about the small stuff.
Yeah. For example, on occasion, I'll flip some Oreos. We have sometimes Ohio seems to be a test market, probably because most of us are fat, and they send all the flavors here to Ohio. So I'll send them in, but I only get those RA. I'm not going to order them online because they're usually typically pretty close to what you can send into Amazon. Yeah, typically I'll update results after I've pared down the mismatches, after I've gotten rid of things that, maybe don't fit my criteria at first glance, then I'll update. So, for example, I see these items are all, like, well, this doesn't match, but, I'm just going to get rid of that real quick. So let's say these first two items here, this is not in stock, so I'm gonna send it over to an out of stock folder. And what I would do is I would update these items right now, go out, have lunch, come back, see if they're still profitable, or maybe they're out of stock now, and then decide what to do with them. But I want to filter out as much as I can before I go updating everything to fresh data. With a large volume of products purchased through Tactical Arbitrage, what bookkeeping software do you use to track your products and product costs? I happen to use QuickBooks. It does everything for me. It takes care of my product costs. It takes care now. I am not a person who tracks the a per item cost and how much profit I'm making. I'm more of a big picture guy. So what I'll do is I know my price per product, and I'll put that into Amazon so that I know what I cannot go under, or I'm going to start losing money. But then overall, I keep track of income and expenses, and I have a separate account just for items that I flip compared to the other ways that I make money. Lots of people use Inventory Lab so they can get a per item cost of goods sold and how much profit they've made. I think Inventory Lab sucks, but everybody else seems to like them. When you update, do you still use so if you're using a 5-day cache and you click the update data, it's going out and grabbing live data no matter what. Michelle, no, I don't use Inventory Lab anymore. I just don't like the software. Wouldn't it make sense to update first and then evaluate results? Otherwise, you're working with old data. So what I do is I get rid of things that are, people want fresh data all the time, but typically things are not changing as much as we think. Just because Amazon is changing prices 80 billion times a day or whatever it is, not a lot of stores are like that. So I'm not ever too surprised by working with data that might be a couple of days old. So I try to pare. What I was really trying to say is that I try to pare down the results as much as I can. If I see something is negative 4,000% and it happened to slip through, or I see a mismatch, I get rid of it and then I update. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting forever for the 500 items you have at the top of your funnel to update so you actually can get in and make a decision. Excuse me. All right. Mike has a question from way back. Is there a way to set up your tax-exempt certificate for online purchasing? Yes. For Walmart, you have to reach out to their customer service department. If you call them, they're actually pretty helpful. It's not like actually dealing with somebody in blue in the store. The people on the 800 number actually kind of know what they're talking about. But yeah, call them. There are some sites that don't call them, don't call Target, don't call Kohl's, don't call ThinkGeek. Those people are never going to accept your tax exempt. You either need to ship to tax exempt or just figure the taxes as cost of doing business.
Right. You can actually sign up with Walmart online now for the tax exempt.
Oh, nice.
I'll post the links to that.
So that should make you really dangerous with product search. Use those bulk lists; they're incredibly important. You shouldn't be necessarily sitting at your computer all day to do online arbitrage anymore. You should be able to set it, go out and do some other things, and then come back and go through your results. Let's see here. When you use update data, can you go back and modify product filters? Let's say there is a new sale going on or extra rebates percentage. Okay. Not really. Not when you're updating in the folders, unless that's in the auto update folder. If you say upload all the new sale data every single day from the step ahead sheet into the settings, and you choose to, it will use that data in the auto update feature. However, if I just grab these items today and I use the filters that I used, no, it's not going to use the extra rebates.